Donkey Kong is, in my opinion, the best character Nintendo's ever made, and across 4 decades, he's had a story full of twists and turns, unnecessary complexity, and an intricate world full of layers of conflict. So join me as we go through what it all really means. Hi everybody, I'm here in the jungle. Did you know that there's free food here at Rocks? I'm here trying to get a better understanding of the beloved Kong, and we got a good amount to look at. Generations of history and ultimately a cold war between major nations with seemingly no end is just the start of it. Right away, we have the issue that Donkey Kong technically doesn't have time points, aging, or any of that stuff, but it does progress. A good example of this being the original DK is the same as Cranky Kong. So yeah, these characters will age. For the sake of this, I'll be referring to years starting at 0 ADK, when we saw the birth of the funny gorilla guy in Yoshi's Island DS. And then we're gonna hardly bring up these time points because it's irrelevant for most of these games. I'm just gonna use release dates. Essentially what happens here is Kamek, Bowser's assistant slash dad, who looks the exact same as every Magic Koopa on the planet, why are these the same design, believes that baby Mario and Luigi are gonna pose as threats across the Koopa Kingdom. By the way, I gotta say this now, this is not a Mario timeline. I'm only looking at the stuff that specifically correlates with this freak. Maybe another time. So Kamek goes around stealing babies just for the love of the game, and a peeved off stork swoops in and rescues baby Mario and Peach, and they get dropped down to Yoshi's Island and embark on a quest to rescue a bunch of stolen babies. Gotta add here that DK wasn't in the first Yoshi's Island, we don't care. Partway through, he helps rescue Peach from some not Kong monkeys. They get destroyed, and now this creature is infecting our screens. Then the rest of the game happens. Wario shows up and never finds his parents. This is the start of Wario's empire, and then baby Bowser gets into a fight with his future self who time traveled for the sole purpose of slaughtering baby Italians? Yeah, okay. But that fails and DK is dropped off on Donkey Kong Island, Congo Bongo, the Kong Kingdom. It doesn't matter what you call it, he's there now. At the end, it's revealed that all 7 major Mario characters of the story have been blessed as the Star Children, meaning that they're capable of great, powerful, and wonderful things. This also means the Yoshi we've been following in Yoshi's Island isn't the main Yoshi. The main one is like the one in Yoshi's story and that god-awful crafted game where he has like a fungal disease. He looks like he's molding. And one more thing I need to establish now. I'm gonna assume because of this, modern day DK is in his mid-20s, which is the same as Mario in this story. I mean, Miyamoto said that Mario's 24. That's probably credible. This is a 24-year-old individual. So now it's been established that DK's gonna do some stuff, pure of heart, some wonderful things, terrific things, in fact. His dad's gonna try cucking Super Mario. 1981, I'm gonna say like 20-ish ADK maybe. This is Cranky Kong. For now, he's gonna be Donkey Kong because it's a shared name. We have a problem with the Donkey Kong family heritage. Is DK the son or grandson of Cranky? Well, based on the aging stuff, Mario's working at a construction site by this point, as is confirmed by Wrecking Crew and the Mario movie. Plus, he has a mustache. This has gotta be at least post-high school. This isn't the face of an 8th grader. This is the face of your middle-aged barber. This is a father-son relationship. Good enough for me? Try to stop me. This is my video, it's mine. I get to choose. So as far as I'm concerned, these are the same and these are the same. The only contradictions I can think of is Country 1 refers to them as grandfather and grandson, which I'm ignoring. But then also in Mario Tennis, DK has his tennis partner be himself because Cranky Kong doesn't wear neckties, damn it. I know the common theory says the opposite, that we don't know the DK father. I know, I'm ignoring that, but like, does it matter? I mean, look at what we're doing here. So it's a good thing time travel exists. This is not impossible. DK has made himself tennis partners, just like Donkey Kong always says. Quote, you should never trust anyone but yourself, especially for tennis doubles. Arcade Donkey Kong sees Cranky Kong kidnapping beloved politician Pauline. Mario saves her, climbing up a construction site, and then Mario Uno reverses and imprisons Cranky. And the following year, 1982, Mario's like whipping Cranky Kong in a cage, having him balance on a barrel. Super Mario torments gorillas out of spite. Luckily, DK Jr. shows up, frees his dad, and then Cranky in 1983, where he decides the next thing he should do after a year of planning and a year of being tortured by Mario, he wants to go to a greenhouse and start smashing flowers. And then this guy, Stanley the Bugman, he goes, oh no, don't crush my greenhouse flowers, and it ends there. He sprays Cranky Kong too much bug spray, he inhales it too much, destroys his lungs, now he's withering away back in Donkey Kongville. From here, not much happens. DK grows into the peak of female performances we all know and love. Cranky begins training his brain to genius levels. He also explores areas like the Northern Cremisphere. In just a few calm years, the Kongs would confide themselves in peace and prosperity, while the Mushroom and Koopa Kingdoms find themselves in endless war. And from this point, I want to better establish the rules with DK's family, the outer circle, the importance of the greater Mario universe. The problem with making a Donkey Kong timeline compared to just a Mario timeline is that they're near inseparable. One is a sister franchise of another. It's really funny to consider the fact that Mario and DK's most consistent story beat kind of technically hilariously relates to international affairs. Almost every Mario game revolves around Bowser being the ruler of an invasive state just so he can get within specific Elephant Peach, because in canon Bowser likes him big. As such, he's gotta go out of his way to get Peach into checkmate positions where she'll have to surrender and take his hand in marriage. In the Mario movie, this put the Kongs in danger for becoming allied with the Mushroom Kingdom, but otherwise it's the equivalent of North Korea and Iceland interacting. They don't. Peach Toadstool's socio-political circle in specific has been recognized, validated, and well documented, and it's important to look into. Some recognized groups and states of Mario's planet and the greater universe include the Mushroom Kingdom, the Koopa Kingdom, Diamond City, Wario. Wario is recognized as his own entity, every unique kingdom in Super Mario Odyssey, the Bean Bean Kingdom, the Flower Kingdom, the Sprixie Kingdom, the Comet Observatory, Yoshi and Yoshi's Island as we've seen, Sarasa Land, Delfino Isle, the Shroobs. I think they count as a fallen empire within a wartime era. I'm gonna treat them like the Ottomans. And New Donk City / Brooklyn in America, I guess. Now, the Kongs try to keep to themselves most of the time, with the exception of Cranky Kong being horny and endangering himself and his son, but Peach, in an effort to preserve the world and her connections for people, is typically the one responsible for hosting events like Mario parties, races, sports, and on occasion, DK's gangs will host a racetrack or a party board. Ultimately, it's the nations attempting to make some sort of alliance to greater threats. It's just that Bowser has a serious problem with starting invasions, mostly out of boredom. It's just because of things like people's remains being used as items and the Bowser space being a propaganda mouthpiece against his will. He's justifiably pissed about the presentation of his people, but they've gotten better about it. He's started to chill out a bit since Peach befriended people capable of rewriting the universe at will. For a majority of this, we will look at how these kingdoms interact with the Kongs, but truth be told, the main group we want to look out for is the Kremlings. What a dastardly bunch of crooked crocodiles. This is King K. Rool. This guy's an asshole. To give an idea, across decades of political maintenance, Peach has only bothered to invite them to a single baseball event. Nothing else matters. Nobody hangs out with these guys. Nobody likes them. They have a generational dispute between the Kongs and the Kremlings, things regarding land expansion, disputes on what's rightfully theirs. Neither are treated with the highest of respects. One of the main reasons for this never-ending conflict comes from the Crystal Coconut. The DK show can be canon, why not? This is Captain Scurvy, a high-ranking Kremling with a great-great-grandpa who had the Crystal Coconut and hid it in the eye of the sentient temple thingy, Inka Dinka Doo. Years later, the magic coconut comes out of its eye, little DK, baby DK picks it up, and therefore, it prophesizes him as the new ruler of DK-topia. So following the events of Donkey Kong's arcade trilogy, Super Mario Kart, time-traveling tennis time, and probably some other things I don't care about, it led to Donkey Kong Country on November 21st, 1994. This is when we get introduced to a ton of the Kongs. We're gonna split them into three groups: the Donkey family, the Dixie family, and unrelated. Cranky's married to Wrinkly. They had DK Jr. / main DK, and then Donkey Kong has a nephew named Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong being like the main lackey and pal because DK's like a cool uncle, not to be mistaken with Uncle Kong, who's unrelated and not a doctor. This also means that DK has a sibling. The only way you can have a nephew is if you have a sibling who has kids. So who's that? Well, there's not really an option. I'm guessing Donkey Kong's brother is Pink Donkey Kong Jr., who is playable in DK Math. Pink Donkey Kong Jr. Pinky Kong. Last in the Kong family, we got Grouchy Kong, Cranky's great-aunt. They're mentioned once. I don't think they matter. Now, Diddy Kong is in a relationship with Dixie Kong. We know less about Dixie's end. Her younger sister is Tiny Kong, and they're cousins with the brothers of Chunky Kong and Kitty Kong. Now, there's way more unrelated Kongs outside of these families. Thanks again, Mario movie. There's hundreds of you. They're like Smurfs. They all serve tinier purposes. They're named after the thing they do. But the more important ones are a part of the greater DK crew. It used to be the Kong Clan, but if you make that an acronym, that's very bad. We're not gonna call call it that. Kongs that we know of that most likely are not related include Mario Kart Legend, Funky, Lanky Kong, Manky Kong, Sumo Kong, Ninja Kong, Dread Kong, Karate Kong, Bink Kong, a dry Kong from Superstar Saga. Baby Kong could be anyone's baby. We don't know who this baby is. Real Housewives of Konga Bonga. There's chained enslaved ones from Mario RPG, Super Kong, Super Diddy Kong, Redneck Kong, Swanky Kong, the Fedora Kong everyone thought was DK's dad because the 2 theory videos that said that, Kong Fu, Eddie the Mean Old Yeti, the ever iconic lecherous hunk of a funky monkey, Bluster Kong, we'll get back to you, I like you, and of course, the worst Kong, the downfall, Candy Kong. She makes me sick. It's literally neuron activation, the character for Donkey Kong. She sucks. I'm only saying that because of the show. She's actually fine in games. By the way, for the country games, I'm combining the GBA and the SNES games, so they're the same game in story. I don't know why these cutscenes weren't in the original games, but they aren't. So the game starts, DK lives in a treehouse directly above the Kong Banana Horde, the main storage center for Kong food. Specifically for Donkey Kong, he loves his bananas, so DK has Diddy go on night watch while he gets a healthy 7 hours and 45 minutes of sleep. But here's where the Kremlings make their first real move for expansion. They gotta get their hands on some more land, and then they decide the most logical move would be to starve the Kongs and make them too weak to resist takeover. And then just like your mother back in college after 2 shots, the Kremlings want to get their hands on as many bananas as possible. The Kremlings show up, Diddy gets jumped, stuffed in a barrel, Cranky's pissed, it's time to slaughter the crocodiles for their misdeeds. And so, the duo make their way through the invaded Kong Island only to confront K. Rool and jump on his head with their primitive powers and successfully concuss K. Rool, grabbing their bananas and doing exactly what they always do. Let's take a look at K. Rool. He's a little bit twisted. He's not like other people. So on November 1st, 1995, his plan for the next invasion comes up to 3 major things. 1, kidnap DK and only DK because his name was on the title of the last one. 2, dress up as a pirate. He's Captain K. Rool now. And 3, do other stuff when convenient, I guess. He doesn't invade again. And then honestly, the Kongs just come to them and they hope nothing bad will happen. So Diddy finds out about this. He scuttles over to Dixie and goes, Babe, my uncle's been kidnapped by the crocodiles. We need to kill them. Yeah, okay. And so begins Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's quest. The pair make their way to Crocodile Isle, the homeland of the Kremlings. It's dreadful, gross. They got Bramble Blast at least. This is great, I like Bramble Blast. Anyway, they make their way back to K. Rool's airship, free DK, and he launches the captain so hard he goes missing for months. So then the Kongs drop all their need for security. So much, in fact, that DK and Diddy go to the Northern Hemisphere on a vacation, and they don't return. Why would you go to a place named after the people who want you dead? K. Rool's new plan is a bit different. 1, kidnap Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong because their names were on the title of the last game. 2, dress up as a mad scientist going by Baron K. Roolenstein. And 3, actually prepare for additional invasions. K. Roolenstein has the 2 mind-controlled and stuffed into a boss Chaos, helping to direct the Kremling army and take down some of the bigger threats among the Kongs. Though he messes up, failing to recognize that literally every single Donkey Kong character is unfathomably dangerous. So Dixie goes to the most trustworthy, powerful person available in her family. Kitty Kong. November 1st, 1996, they go to the Northern Hemisphere. Funky provides the 2 with vehicles to get around. Kitty should not be operating an aircraft. You're actively asking for a disaster, but I specifically want to look at Wrinkly Kong here. In the trilogy, the extra Kongs have been providing services, shops, tips, swank, but Wrinkly used to run the Kong College, aka the saving spot. And here she's started becoming a spiritual believer of the banana birds. I feel like I'm gonna get an infection looking at them. Essentially, the Banana Queen's almost like some sort of banana god determined to punish K. Rool for his misdeeds of mishandling the bananas. He wasn't gentle with the Horde, he's gotta be put down. But Dixie and Kitty save their pals, and then Roolenstein fails escaping as their Banana Queen shoots him with an egg as punishment. Wrinkly looks at this and recognizes her old age, dedicating the remainder of her life toward receiving forgiveness and attain her ideal afterlife. This is where the handheld versions start to break from the console versions. Like in console, Country Country 3 Wrinkly protects banana birds in her save cave, but in handheld Donkey Kong Land 3, she's at a retreat. She's trying to find peace before she withers away. It's weird considering the context. Like, Kiddy Kong is not at the mental capacity to register that this woman is coming to terms with her inevitable death. But I gotta address this because it's entirely possible K. Rool's motivations were sparked because of Wrinkly. See, initially in the Kong College, K. Rool was a student and would be expelled because all they wanted to know was how to defeat the Kongs. Like, I appreciate them asking. It was very polite of them to just, it was worth a shot, you know? It is what it is. They gave a real effort. And with that being said, here's where we have another gap, the end of this trilogy and the jump towards the N64. But as we do that, I want to introduce some things that have been happening to the Kongs. After Country 3, Wrinkly dies. Based on her attire, I'm assuming she passed away in her sleep, and I really don't want to imagine Cranky Kong waking up to that, but at the very least, praying to the banana birds, I guess, blessed her with the opportunity to haunt the greater family. So basically nothing changed. Cool. Other highlights include Funky Kong, seeing like an army ad that truly resonated with him. It's a phase. He becomes a JR OTC kid. But Tiny might have the best origin. She works with the IRS. She's a genius. She has dreams of becoming a supermodel, but her intelligence is the priority. She's helping the Kong family get their taxes sent. Are they being taxed via bananas or a genuine currency? The Kongs are well established. I mean, look at Big Ape City. The movie's portrayal, they clearly have some sort of advanced life and culture. For some reason, I still struggle to comprehend Donkey Kong knowing anything about any sort of finance. K. Rool's genuinely more likely to beat DK by teaching him about the importance of a 401k and then with physical force. But that's just a fun little fact. Next up, Diddy Kong Racing. Both of them. November 21st, 1997 is the date we're going with, but I'm gonna squish them together. I'm gonna squish both games together. Even though the 2007 one has some changes that are very important, we're gonna ignore that and instead look at all the new pals with their own backstories. This is Wizpig, an evil alien dictator who managed to take over his planet and wants more. So, he heads over to this island owned by a family of tigers, and while the parents go on a vacation, they leave their kid Timber in charge, and he has to like maintain an entire population. It's like a royalty thing. So Wizpig shows up and he goes, guess what, bitch? This is my house. Get off my property. And he puts his icky face on a wall, immediately getting the 4 guardians of the island to work with him at a bribery or something like that. Timber and Wizpig decide the only way to settle this conflict is with a race, and he gets his pal Drumstick to take on the alien freak, and Drumstick loses. He goes missing. He's turned into a frog. This makes Timber really nervous, so he starts training alongside other island inhabitants, Tip Top, Bumper, Pipsy, and especially Taj the Genie and TT, who's gonna help determine when they're ready to take on Wizpig. Now Timber, using his rich boy networking skills, he also manages to get help from Diddy Kong, and just to make sure there isn't like an alliance or concern to be worried about, K. Rool sends out 2 Kremling spies. One of them is Crunch, who eventually helps out for the greater good, and then this unnamed one who runs away because Wizpig is... I mean, look at the render. At this point, we have a big continuity problem. The DS version has Dixie and Tiny joining, but the original only had Banjo and Conker, who would eventually get their own games. So in order to make both of them canon, I'm gonna assume that all of this happened at the same time, but based on what version, the camera would just like miss the characters out of frame. So like this party scene, Dixie Kong's just like, she has a juice box in the corner, you just can't see her. The only other problem this produces is that Tiny gets a redesign, and because after DK64 she has like a magic dream that gives her a growth spurt overnight, she goes from her DK64 design to this one. She is transformed from a small child that eats caterpillars and worms to a high school sophomore with a vaping problem. She still works as a tax official. Wow. That's a problem. It's a good thing time travel exists. There's a whole bunch of issues playing with the time travel card here. The alternative is I put DK64 before this game, but this one came out first, so I'm gonna assume that it's fine, and it's okay, because Tip Top the Turtle, he's in a hovercraft. The game happens, the Guardians are defeated, Wizpig is defeated, the gang throws a mid-beach party, failing to recognize that beating someone in a foot race doesn't defeat them, violence does. So, Wizpig offers another fight in his planet territory, another few races, another win, Wizpig riding a rocket, then dies crashing into another planet, permanently defeating this demonic slime creature. I still can't believe this is an official render. Do I need to talk about the characters of this game's roster? Yes, they're technically Donkey Kong characters, like Mario is technically a Donkey Kong character. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't be in the remake. As for Banjo and Conker, you know, I'm gonna say this is like a Yoshi to Mario situation, even though they're different things. The former only exists because of the latter. Plus, I'll never get the chance to talk about Conker again, so just give me this one. June 29th, 1998. Shortly after the events of Diddy Kong Racing, Banjo meets and befriends Kazooie on his way back to his home located right next to Spiral Mountain, where he lives with his little sister Tootie. Now this is Gruntilda Winky Bunyan, and one day she asks her sentient cauldron the following: Cauldron, cauldron in the hole, who's the baddest bitch in this valley hole? Why did I rhyme hole? Never mind. He responds with Tootie, so Gruntilda gets pissed and decides to steal her beauty. But thanks to the kind souls Gruntilda has wronged in the past, like Mumbo Jumbo, Bottles, the Jinjos, and her sister, she gets obliterated and creates a crater and then gets bouldered, so she's super dead for only about a few weeks. Because 2 months later, in Grunty's revenge on the GBA, Gruntilda's assistant Klungo shows up, makes a robot suit, decides to kidnap Kazooie, and then they try to time travel before Banjo and Kazooie meet. Doesn't matter, she fails. Bad game. November 20th, 2000. 2 years after the first console game, Gruntilda's skeleton is revived by her 2 evil sisters, Mingella and Blobelda. They want revenge. They blow up Banjo's house. Bottles is killed. So Gruntilda's gonna use the big O blaster. She's gonna steal the life force upon Jinjo Village. It fails, Bottles and the zombified King Jinjo get revived. Gruntilda's reduced to nothing but a skull, and Banjo plays hacky sack with it. And this is retconned in Banjo Pilot, but it's Banjo Pilot. I've never heard of this game until reading this in the script. Also, unrelated, we have more stuff with Tip Top. Tip Top's become a father of 20 in the past couple years, and the eggs look like this. I'm very afraid and sorry for what his wife looks like. Last Banjo game, Nuts and Bolts, November 11th, 2008. Why do they gotta make him so angular? I hate it. 8 years after turning Gruntilda into a skull, they've gotten morbidly obese. Gruntilda has nothing to lose. She wants Spiral Mountain so she can unironically turn this beautiful floral area into a Walmart supercenter. Fortunately, this new guy, the Lord of Games, stops them and sets up a bunch of challenges so he can make a game about this. It sucks, it's boring, but in the end, Banjo and Kazooie save Spiral Mountain, and as punishment, Gruntilda's forced to slave under the Lord of Games game factory until the end of time, where she has to develop terrible games under a bad publisher, and there's nothing she can do about it. She can't quit. And someday she's gonna get revenge by making her own game that can defeat them, and all of this stuff I have just listed and all the games was enough to get Banjo in Super Smash Bros. I would make fun of them, but I main Banjo and Rob, but based on my voice and the direction of this channel, you could already figure out I'm a loser. Moving back, just 2 games for Conker. June 8th, 1999. Conker's celebrating his birthday with his girlfriend, Barry. Suddenly, the evil acorn shows up, and then he stops the evil acorn. That's the game. March 5th, 2001. 2 years after the previous game. What the hell has happened in the past 2 years? How did we go from this to this? Where is evil acorn? It's kind of upsetting to realize that this takes place on the same planet that has Goomba, but Conker's homeland is one full of war and political uprise. Conker himself being the last descendant of the Kulas of Conk, a band of powerful warriors who teamed up with the Panthers in the Milk Wars. I'm not making this shit up. This is Mario adjacent. This all takes place while Mario's going on like a vacation in Mario Sunshine. In the Milk Wars, Conk and Panthers want to overthrow the Weasel's ruling, but near the end, the lead Panther betrays Conker's ancestors and kills them off one by one and chops the legs off of the Weasel King, who disappears and swears for revenge. The Panther King then banishes the squirrels to Windy, where they can't be a problem, and try to get the kingdom back. To assure his victory, he takes control of these evil bears called the Teddies, with a Z, and then throws his country into a terrible debt, satisfying his milk addiction. This war is disturbingly close to World War II. I don't want to think about this in World War II. This is the same world with Goomba in it. Now I'm gonna assume this takes place between both of the main games of Conker's life. Complete 180, war changes a man. He goes from a whimsical little forest creature to an alcoholic, and the squirrels are still trying to take down the king, who literally does not care. In fact, all he wants is to capture Conker so he can use him as a table leg, as provided by his assistant, Professor Von Cripplespeck. Now, Conker doesn't care. He just wants sex and booze. He's lost the whimsy of the past. Barry got plastic surgery right before his friends head off to war. He gets inebriated, and next day he wakes up lost with the simple goal of heading home. And on his way home, he does things such as recover a beehive from a wasp, gets taken by the head of the Weasel Mafia to bomb cavemen. He becomes a bat by his surviving ancestor, Count Batula, turning him into one, and then he joins the war and ends it. All in like one day. This was Conker and Barry are brought together by Don Weezo to rob a bank. This turns out to be a ploy just so the Panther King can get his table leg. Barry dies, a Xenomorph rips out of the Panther King, and Professor Von Cripplespack's revealed to be the former Weasel King. Mid-fight through, the Rare developers forgot to playtest the end of the game, and the final boss freezes, so Conker gets an easy win, thanks to a kind programmer or an intern. Though tragically, he forgets to ask this person to revive Barry. So when he becomes king, he ends with a hollow loss, and he goes to the same bar as before, starting a new adventure as he goes in a different direction. We're never getting another Conker game again, guys. If they were to do anything, I hope it would be about getting Bumper out of jail, because off-screen, Bumper became a felon. This is not a joke, this is the end of this character. And as for the rest, Rare confirmed the other characters are having their own wacky collection adventures, but Rare themselves have said they're expensive and the assets would take so long for Pipsy's Marina Trench Adventure. We're never gonna see Pipsy's Marina Trench Adventure. Anyway, back to the thing this video is actually about. Donkey Kong 64. 64,000 seconds of cartoons. This got a manga and a card game, the magnum opus of Donkey Kong. Part of me wonders if I should consider this canon, but another part of me doesn't care enough. Like, we got Bluster Kong, the messiah of this specific cartoon, nepotism baby of the DK barrel factory. Nobody jives with him on account of those barrels being the very same ones Diddy Kong was crammed into, among other people. This is the Donkey Kong equivalent of getting shoved into a locker. A majority of the cast acts like these weird, exaggerated adaptations of their characters would, but regardless, I still have my thoughts. Like, where is Kiddy Kong? Why does Dixie have malformed pug eyes that expand and contract? DK's source of strength is located in his hair, and also his head's naturally shaped like the horn thing that's like part of his skull. And most importantly, I just don't like Candy Kong. So for context, friendly reminder, these are the only known women on the island. Dating pools are kinda limited. Even though Funky Kong is right there, it means that DK, Bluster, K-Rool wants to end up with Candy. She's mean, she's unfaithful, she breaks up with DK at the slightest of screw-ups. To be fair, he's an idiot. It's a toxic relationship both ways. DK needs to become a passport bro. I love the K-Rool adaptation in this show. All they want to do is steal the crystal coconut. It's an insightful commentary about the birthright land from ancestors versus reclaiming their territory. The relationship between these two parties are insightful and poetic. It's empowering. Truly a timeless franchise. Wacky misadventures will then ensue for like 40 episodes. Highlights include the confirmation that Candy would immediately go for Bluster if DK was out of the picture, this bastard child, Bluster encouraging democracy and nobody voting for him, the power of song having supernatural capabilities, Leo Luster, that one scene where everybody's moping in the mines, and Leo Luster. As much as I would love to explain all 40 episodes, I don't. I made a brief short to better convey the most average, commonplace aspects of the country cartoon, except for the fact it wasn't 20 minutes long because this is YouTube and I understand that your viewer retention is inherently flawed and short, so I hope you enjoy this very special stage play. Hey Donkey Kong, do you like bananas?
Hey, little buddy, I love bananas almost as much as I love candy and the crystal coconut and my friends.
Okay. DK, I think Candy is cheating on you again.
Diddy, stop bringing this shit up whenever you can. I'm trying to have a moment with you.
Well, I thought you should know. You're my friend, DK. I don't want to see you get hurt by her. She's disingenuous.
You've always been jealous of what we have. You're just upset Dixie isn't enough for you.
You take that. Can we not do this in front of Dixie? I'm trying to help you out, man.
I'm gonna kill you!
Rats, I hate those rotten Kongs. Always eating bananas and stealing my crystal coconut. Oh, my cremlings, I'm going to give 'em what's coming to 'em.
Oh, buttery biscuits, my coconut's gone! We
She's
have a
bad for you
three-strike
and you
rule.
know it.
You can't
Candy's
criticize
a fraud
what we
and
have.
you know it.
She's on
Yes! Yeah!
Oh, shit.
King K. Rool, you've had that crystal coconut for long enough. Here comes my big Donkey Kong fist. Banana Slammer!
What's up, losers? I'm dating Candy now.
Yeah, that's basically the cartoon. November 22nd, 1999. The same plot as the usual. K. Rool shows up and captures all the characters convenient. This time, 3 randos and then Diddy. I guess K. Rool spun the You're My Hostage wheel and it lands on Chunky Kong, Tiny Kong, and Lanky Kong. Chunky in specific is horrified of being in the front lines of this war. Tiny is content because the only thing that ruins lives more than taxes is violence, and Lanky Kong is happy to be included. So K. Rool has this thing, the Blast-O-Matic, and it's gonna destroy Donkey Kong Island. Fortunately, the Kremlings are dumb idiots. Crash it. There is still time to save the day. And so that happens. It's about the same antics as usual. Funky doubles back on his ROTC phase. There's other new neutral party animals nearby. We don't care about them. In the finale, it's a giant boxing match against K. Rool, and every single Kong works together to save the day. Even Candy Kong. Thank you, Candy. That was very kind of you. I hope you two have permanently broken up. I don't think either of you are gonna benefit from this long term. All right, you know what time point we're at. You know how much of the video is left. Things are really gonna start speeding up here. Like if you want to see how fast we're getting, 2003 to 2004, Donkey Kong a trilogy. DK, Diddy, and Dixie start playing bongos so they can afford more bananas and go on a world tour. That's it. That's 3 games right there. The plot has started shriveling from here. May 24th, 2004, Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I hope you're ready for these. Why does anyone play these? DK has a lot of minor feuds, but it's not like Mario and Cranky where it's on site. Like DK is just an idiot. He knows better to an extent. For example, Mario has a toy company. DK wants a mini Mario. He starts looting, drags Mario. He wants a mini Mario. He can't get a mini Mario. It makes him very upset. He causes a ruckus because of that, and he gets one at the end. Friendly reminder that this spin-off has more entries than Pikmin has games. March 14th, 2005. You ever wonder where that one Smash Bros stage with the funny one-shotting pink and green Spike came from? Here. This game. DK Junglebeat. Love the DK model here. It's very fuzzy. I love this more than the short-haired muscular demon in Mario Kart 8. A few evil Kongs are still trying to take over. They're trying to take more bananas. They stole them all through the land. Donkey Kong goes and he punches all the bad guys. The designs are cool though. You know, whenever I see these characters, I imagine them being the profile picture of like a 12-year-old kid on YouTube in 2012 who would have like a 1 million view video called How to Unlock Sonic in Mario Kart Wii, and they have like 300 subs. Like Dread Kong looks like an Xbox profile picture. Also, this got 2 arcade games, if that's anything. September 19th, 2005, King of Swing. There's a Jungle Jam tournament. K. Rool steals them all. Go get them. September 25th, 2006, March of the Minis. Mario's toy company is getting an amusement park. To celebrate this major occasion and step in Mario's career, he has invited his dear friend and politician, Pauline, to celebrate the occasion. Unfortunately, Donkey Kong happens to be in the crowd, and because, reminder, he loves the mini Mario toys enough to where he got one based on his likeness. So he sees Pauline, and I guess wanting this woman is a dominant gene. There is a generational level of simping over Pauline in the Kong family. The Kongs have a type, and DK wants a child that looks like that one kid that turns into a monkey in Jumanji. He wants to be with Pauline, so just like Cranky, he steals the woman and proceeds to endanger this poor lady across the Mario equivalent of Legoland. September 10th, 2007, DK Jungle Climber. Holy shit, this was the greatest game to ever grace the Nintendo DS. How did it only sell 500k copies? It's not fair. Like, I'm not even joking. This is one of my favorite games. I don't know how to describe it, but it's here. It's wonderful. Please play this game. Please watch me play this game. If I ever stream or anything, just get more people to see Donkey Kong rock climbing. Also, buy my makeshift plush. The primary Kong family, no Tiny, no Chunky, no Kitty, are enjoying a vacation at Sun Island. They let their tropical island home to vacation to go on another tropical island. Diddy Kong goes, fellas, there's a big banana at the top of the island. We gotta go check it out. And then they get to the top, and the banana is actually a ship, and now they have befriended a friendly alien named Xananab, and within 5 minutes of his arrival, the Kremlings have already made themselves enemies. Now, a part of me is wondering why we have alien bananas, but let me remind you, we already have aliens in the franchise. This is nothing. They stop K. Rool, he gains reality rift warping capabilities, so we go to other planets, and we stop him from taking over the universe with the power of bananas. Like, literally, Donkey Kong is gonna outlive me, and he's gonna have a better legacy than me. It's kind of depressing to think about. Anyway, in the end, K. Rool has a big mech and everybody goes to Xananap's homeland. K. Rool gets big and then he gets small and then the credits roll. Alright, as you can tell, I'm trying to be nice, but genuinely, Donkey Kong has become a lab rat for Nintendo's bid. It's disgusting, but I guess the Kongs gotta make ends meet somehow. They gotta pay Tiny's taxes somehow. Dark times have loomed since Bluster moved the factory off the island. There's a bunch of retro releases, Barrel Blast, which had a full roster of OCs, and Lanky Kong, for some reason, he's there out of everybody. Then there's back-to-back Mario vs. Donkey Kong stuff. Minis March again in 2009. Don't mix it up with March of the Minis. Pauline opens an expansion for the park and DK's mad, then Miniland Mayhem. Exact same plot, just that the first 100 customers all get a mini Pauline. DK doesn't get it. Uh-oh, Torment, another plot inconvenience, another game. Generic ending, mutual understanding. This game is so unrelated. This is so weird. I remember this game specifically because I was fortunate enough to meet a couple of my great-grandparents, and I remember one of them was asking me questions while I was at their nursery home playing on my DSi, and then he passed away 3 weeks later. My final memory of my great-grandfather was him watching me electrocute Donkey Kong. Screw this, man. We're ignoring the rest of these games. I don't even like the Mini Marios. No tipping stars, no amiibo challenge, no minis on the move. Bye-bye, Mini Mario. You've overstayed your welcome. I hate you. Yeah, you know, at least we got June 18th, 2008, Mario Super Sluggers. The Kongs play baseball and the Kremlings show up. By the way, this is the last non-Smash Bros. Appearance of K. Rool. I miss him every day. To celebrate, DK gets his ass kicked by a 17-year-old on the Wii version of Punch-Out. If Little Mac loses, he gets taken away, probably as a Kong sacrifice. Woohoo! November 21st, 2010, Donkey Kong Country returns. Ooh-hoo! The Kremlings have died. Now we got the Tiki tribe. They like to hypnotize local animals to steal bananas and attack the Kongs. Guess how that goes? It doesn't. I will say, other than the ending being funny, like DK punches the moon into the final boss as a retaliation, but also there's more implications in temples about the Kongs being these ancient beings, a lot of hidden backstory to be told. We just never see it, because Donkey Kong is a silly little primate who jumps around and swings. We don't need to understand the amount of temples or the complexities. We just move on from it. Now, before we move on to the last true Donkey Kong game, I think it's important to take a look at the Olympic Games. When every other year, the Mario gang meets up with Sonic's pals, they go to the Olympics in their world, nobody really doing any specialized stuff for their physiques or strength. Sonic just does water events despite not being able to swim. Bowser is doing a mile run. He is not built for that. He should not be doing that one. Donkey Kong did not attend the 2008 Beijing Olympics due to substance abuse. But in Vancouver 2010, there's actually a lot of plot worth looking at. So in this story, on the DS version, the snow spirit creatures who make snow happen, they're like bees in the sense that if we lose the snow spirits, we die. We need them together. And then Dr. Eggman and Bowser steal them so they can host the Olympics, and then Bowser melts all the snow in Vancouver, so Mario and Sonic gotta travel through probably Canada, recruit all their friends through the campaign until they beat the bad guys and save the Olympics. Now, Donkey Kong is in the second to last world, so it counts. And I think I forgot to mention this, but it's implied that DK can't speak English. Like, a lot of the time he speaks in ooks and grunts, and it's translated for everybody else. Everyone else knows how to speak Kong. It's essentially a different language, and it's inconsistent when this is and isn't the case. But you know what? It's not really that much of an issue here. London Olympics 2012 on the 3DS. Bowser and Eggman have their invitations to the Olympics lost in the mail, so they resort to chemical warfare. A majority of this story follows Mario, Luigi, a mute Sonic who doesn't talk the entire game, and Tails as they figure out what's going on across London in episodes, which is all the cast being broken up into weird groups, and DK only appears in 2 of them. The first, he has to wrestle this robot, Omega. I remember this fight being hard. It took me like 3 hours to beat. And then also at some point, Bowser gets like really frustrated and gets DK to compete with him in a few Olympic games, and then DK loses. It's kind of weird, all this coming out before the actual Olympics. And then the 2014 game is completely skippable. In 2016, Brazil, Mario and Sonic go missing. DK's not really involved. So we can skip that one. And then to end it up, there was Tokyo 2020. Mario, Sonic, Bowser, Eggman, and the Toad, not a Toad, the main Toad, they all get sucked into a game console, forcing Luigi and Tails to try and help them out, encountering all their friends throughout, while the characters in the console try killing each other so they have less competition during the actual Olympics. Again, none of you have correlating body types. You should not be doing the same events. DK's entire plot is so stupid. I love him. He wants to go to the observatory in Tokyo so he can see the city. and then he enters a surfing competition. That is all he does. This is all Donkey Kong does in this story. That is all he does. He becomes a tourist, and then he becomes a surfer. Diddy Kong is here, and he doesn't do anything. He only does hurdles and rugby in the Olympics, but he's here. If they ever make more of these games, it would be really cool and awesome if they stopped making major characters exclusive to random events. This was a weird thing I hated. Let Toad do discus, goddammit. And finally, on February 21st, 2014, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It's Donkey Kong's birthday and nobody could make it, just Diddy Kong, Dixie, and Cranky. Suddenly a new invasive group, the Snowmads, led by Lord Frederick, want to take over DK Island. And the Kongs get launched to another island, so they gotta go all the way back, island to island, retaking all the islands from the Snowmads as they freeze all of them over. That is all. In the past decade, that is all that has gone on. Just some remakes and a Universal ride, which is cool. And the kids can see a animatronic Rambi the Rhino, if you're into that. Okay, technically this isn't entirely true, but the most recent time point is Donkey Kong's DLC and Rabbids. But not only have I covered that in multiple other videos, but it's actually not considered canon. This is a weird loophole that I proudly don't feel bad about getting wrong, but let me remind you, this is what we're dealing with. The opening of this game sees Rabbids fusing with Mario objects in their time-traveling washing machine. There's a 20-minute lore video for a reason, guys. I made this for a reason. Nonetheless, a Mario poster gets sucked into the machine and teleports them into a Mario world created by the poster. It's based off the poster. What this means is that this is a separate Mario universe permanently ruined by Rabbid involvement. It's canon to Rayman, it's canon to Rabbids, but not Mario and DK. It's a multiverse and it is a separate universe. Cranky Rabbid is a Rabbids character, not a Donkey Kong one. Remember that distinguishment. Okay, what about the Mario movie then? Well, as much as I want to count it, I hesitate in part because Cranky is so different. The population's completely different. There's a totally different amount of people here. But at the same time, I mean, there is Kiddy Kong, so I say we count it for world building purposes. Ignoring it otherwise because I'm leaning toward it being a separate continuity that's implemented in future games. The only things I consider canon here is Cranky is the father of DK because I'm a stingy idiot. Cranky is the brain behind the Kongs, while DK is more like a mascot slash future leader idiot in training, and Swanky Kong died in a car accident. There being any sort of military is very funny. I mean, I guess Funky served his time, but that's all. I'm kind of heartbroken about this direction being subjective to spin-off standby remakes, and DK Returns got brought back 3 times. Just give us Kiddy Kong or something, man. I'm a sucker for rare injection, permanently locked to DK. I want to see more of this area of Mario. It can be 3D or a country game, but I would love to see more Kongs get used, because across the 2000s, they've started to become rarities. And then at the same time, maybe give some more cool looking areas. I love how levels have storytelling in these games. It's so cool. I love Donkey Kong, dude. I love the lakes of the Northern Cremisphere, the brisk air of Bramble Blast, the silhouettes across Grassland Grove. DK has always been the icon of tough platforming with a genuine sense of adventure and heart that I miss. I hope to see it again. Compared to Mario, DK's more niche, but it hits harder if you fit in that category. This necktie ape has more substance. It's an acquired taste. You need a trained palate for such an art form. Now, Nintendo's been at this phase where they're trying out a bunch of their older franchises to see what's working. With 2D Metroid, Mario RPG comebacks, remakes and remasters, a Peach game, you get the idea. They're doing it again with Country Returns on the Switch. I don't think it'll sell well because of the fact it came out on the same day they announced the Switch 2, but it looks like something new is at least around the corner based on DK movie design being used. And you know what? Not a big hater, not a big fan either, but it's better than nothing. But it makes me worried though that they're gonna cut off all remnants of rare sauce. Please save DK, please bring back K-Rool, just do something. At the same time, I'm also 90% sure Nintendo thinks it's fine not to make additional IP content when they work on a movie or park. We haven't gotten a 3D game since Odyssey in 2017. I'm ignoring Bowser's Furies, that's not a Mario game, it's a Mario experience. Genuinely look at Nintendo and tell me they wouldn't do that. I'm convinced them making the Zelda movie is gonna prevent them from making Zelda games. I guess time will tell. I hope you enjoyed, subscribe. Gamer Subs, I have a makeshift plush for a limited time, and when you get the chance, try exploring the woods. These berries are really filling. I don't think I should be eating these.